Thanks for getting in touch.
Hey, that's quite all right. Sorry, I'm a couple of minutes late.
Oh, no problem at all. I'm doing a piece about the release of this big box set.
Yeah.
And I figure the logical place to start is the unique nature of this one as composed to so many of these. I mean, some of them are just kind of inflated greatest hits albums.
Yeah.
And you and Pink Floyd chose to go in and remaster the whole albums. Where did that come from?
Well, I thought we'd do the remastering business because it just seemed like a good opportunity to go back and make certain that all these things are as good sonically as they possibly can be. Mm-hmm. And as they've all, CDs happened after some of these albums came out originally.
Way after.
One's never quite certain exactly at what point and what was used to make the original CDs. And this was an opportunity to double check as well and to go back and use the very latest digital to analog to digital converters and make the very best of it that we possibly could, as well as giving people full size sort of like vinyl cover album artwork stuff in the book.
How much hands-on involvement did anybody in the group have in choosing which records would be included?
Every decision in the whole thing is made by Pink Floyd. Mm-hmm. So between us, we decided which records, we decided on which artwork and what to do, and we decided on the remastering. None of this has anything to do with the record companies. They asked for a box set, and we delivered one.
Yeah, so it's really your summing up.
Yeah.
Well, that being the case, as a longtime Pink Floyd fan, let me fire a few questions about omissions at you.
Okay.
Adam Hart Mother.
Yeah.
Boy, that sounds wonderful on CD, even though, even its current CD.
Yeah.
Wondering why you didn't choose to remaster that one.
Well, the remastering is one element of this. Now, if the going back to and remastering all these and putting them in this particular box set, there are financial reasons why the record companies will not let us put all the records that we've put out over the years into one box. Mostly because the price would come out at well over $200, and they don't think people would buy them.
So you had to choose a cutoff point.
So we had to choose some records to leave off, and you know how these things are described always. Everyone's going to lose one of their favorites once in a while, and that's just the way it goes. We chose not to put the first one on, the Syd Barrett one, because it was a different era of Pink Floyd. We chose the other ones to put on. We had one or two arguments about which ones to put on, but we tried to make as representative a thing of the whole career as we could, and personal favoritism and things comes into that, of course, as well.
Sure.
I would like to have the other four albums in, Piper at the Gates of Dawn, Uma Gilmour, Atom Heart Mother, and even the final cut.
How about more? That holds up pretty well too.
Yeah, well, that's another whole aspect of it, which is another different thing in film soundtrack stuff. I was really primarily talking about the proper studio-released Floyd albums, and then you can go to those ones as well. That would take you up to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 CDs. You tell me how much that cost.
Yeah. It's frightening to think about.
Get your calculator out.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid Atom Heart Mother didn't survive the cut on that one. But at the same time as saying that, I do intend to continue this mastering business, if I can get support from the other guys, to go in and finish up what we started,
right?
And get the other ones remastered, and over the next year or so, replace every CD that comes out of ours with the best mastering. I mean, it won't be announced or stated on the boxes or anything, but at some point, I'm hoping to have them all as good mastering as they can possibly be.
Mm-hmm. No, the rarities disc is an interesting thing.
Which one? The singles and stuff.
Yeah, the singles, the B-sides, the A-sides. Let me ask you a couple of rarities questions. Some of the stuff that Pink Floyd bootleg fans have been hoarding for years, like Vegetable Man or Scream Thy Last Scream.
Yeah.
Was there any temptation to put that stuff on the disc, or just couldn't get your hands on it? Or
No, not really. I mean, we don't have this great desire to clean out our cupboards and show you all the shit that we did at various points in our past that we were never too keen on or proud of. Apart from those couple of tracks that you've mentioned, which are very old, Bad era ones, I like Vegetable Man, in fact, but, it's, apart from those couple of tracks from that era, there's very, very little else that hasn't been released that could be released.
One of the things I've read about is that after Dark Side, you guys were trying to make an album that didn't have any instruments on it.
Yeah.
Is that an apocryphal story, or is it true? And what do those set tracks sound like?
Well, that's called a Household Objects, a proposed album where we try to make all the sounds without using real instruments. Of course, it's a dead easy thing to do today with samplers.
Right.
You could do all that. You could have made that album dead easy. We abandoned it without ever having done any real tracks. We just worked on the systems of it for a while. One of the things we did was to make a multi-track tape thing of wine glasses. When you put a bit of water in the wine glass and you tune them up to a note, then you rub your finger around the top. Now, we made a thing of that, and we used that at the beginning of the Wish You Were Here album. In fact, the sort of chords thing at the beginning that the guitar and stuff gets played over.
Oh,
those chords are made from those wine glasses. But other than using that and one or two other little bits and pieces from it, we've never used anything from it. And I don't think we ever even recorded a track or anything, really. It just got too difficult.
Yeah.
and pointless. I mean, in the end, after you've spent weeks trying to make cardboard boxes and sound like bass drums and snare drums, you think, well, why the fuck don't I use a bass drum and snare drum?
Yeah. Well, it's a great story, though.
We did spend quite a bit of time and energy on it, but we abandoned it eventually.
Well, it's good to have Point Me at the Sky on CD. I always thought that was one of the best rarities.
Good. Funny enough, it was one of my builders working on doing up a house who suggested to me that we put these things out. Why can't I get these things on CD, all these things? I thought, well, why can't he?
Yeah.
And so we threw that in as an extra freebie.
Was that?
And they're all, again, they've gone back to the original masters and all remastered.
Was it
in glorious mono.
Was it hard to track that stuff down?
Not so hard as you would have thought. I mean, in fact, they were all of those are still in EMI's vaults. There were some of the later things which were a little harder to track down, but eventually I did manage to track every single original master tape down, and that's what you get.
Going back and doing some of that stuff on Arnold Lane and Candy and the Current Fun, and also parts of Saucerful, it must make you think of Syd Barrett and his state today. What it's an old question you're asked a million times, but especially when you're doing something retrospective like this, do you think about that and what kind of group it could have been if he hadn't dropped out of the music world?
Well, if he hadn't dropped out of the music world, I wouldn't have got the job. So.
Well, that's true. Well, wasn't it a 5-piece for like a short time there?
Yes, it was a 5-piece. It was a 5-piece for about a month, but it was a 5-piece only because Sid had lost it completely. So, I don't really wonder about what it would have been if Sid had stayed in it. Who knows? It may have faded away to nothing within 2 more years, or not. Who knows? I've no idea. That's a kind of pointless speculation. But I do keep in touch with Sid's family, and I know how he's doing and everything like that. But,
well, these projects must be good for him to keep the money coming in.
Yes, helps keep him afloat.
Are you? Do you ever? There's a whole phenomenon of him having become this cult figure and people being so fascinated in him still. Does that strike you as odd, or are you surprised by it at all?
Well, I'm not really surprised by it. He was a very charismatic figure, and he did write some wonderful songs. So I'm not really surprised by it. But obviously, you can say of anyone whose career was cut off in its prime or who died young, James Dean or anyone else, that, they are considered as wonderful and because they never grew old and show us all their weaknesses,
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah. How about the inevitable Roger question? Did he have any involvement in the box set putting it together, and what's the state on that on relations with between the group and him?
Well, we have no relationship with him really, but he was invited to be involved in all stages through this, the making of the box set, and he did make one or two suggestions, but he suggested that we leave a momentary lapse of reason off and put a final cut in, which the rest of us declined. And he made a couple of title offers, which didn't quite make it. One of them was quite interesting, but no, he didn't have much input in it, but he was consulted all the way through.
What was his title suggestion?
I can't remember, to be honest with you. I can't remember.
Let's go through some of the albums, and I'd like to ask you or get a thought or two from you on each of the ones that are in the box. When you sit down and listen to Sorcerful, what strikes you primarily, since it's the oldest one on there?
Well, the title track strikes me as being the first of a line of ideas that led on into what Pink Floyd later became. You know, that sort of half a side of strange sections joined together and sound effects and things.
That great drum loop part, something I've always loved.
Well, that sort of struck me as being still, which is, the theme that was followed in the four pieces on Omaguma, was followed in Atom Heart Mother, the title track thing, followed in Echoes on the Metal album, and developed on to becoming a whole album sort of project by the time we got to Dark Side of the Moon. That I like. And Jug Band Blues, Sid's one on there, I particularly like.
Yeah. What exactly is a jug?
A jug band?
Yeah, well, no, that's, isn't that the last line? What exactly is a jug?
No, a joke.
Oh, a joke. Jeez.
What exactly is a joke is the last line.
I've always been wrong about that. Maybe the remastering will make it more clear.
Yeah.
How about metal? There's some real Pink Floyd quote-unquote tracks on there.
Yeah.
And then there were some pretty odd departures, which you listen to them today, and they strike you like the song with Rick's dog on it.
It's not Rick's dog. It was it's actually Steve Marriott's dog.
Ah.
That I looked after for a year. Seamus.
It was weird because in the movie he's kind of in charge of the dog.
Yes. Well, it was a different dog in the movie. You see.
Really?
It was a female. It was because we'd shot that movie thing in France. With the quarantine laws, we weren't allowed to take dogs across the frontier, so we had to audition another dog and get one.
So there was actually alternate dog tracks.
That was a different one. That was a different dog singing differently. That was called Mademoiselle Nob. That dog was called, and she was on that French one in the film. But the original dog was a Welsh Border Collie called Seamus.
How do you think metal holds up?
Well, Echoes I think sounds great. I love Echoes. One of These Days still stands up great to me. One or two of the other ones sound really nice still. Yeah, I like it. I think metal was the first album after Sourceful really that was really getting to grips with where we were going.
Yeah. And kind of pointing the way to Dark Side as well.
Yeah. Echoes, I still love Echoes. It's brilliant.
The thing that strikes me about Dark Side when I listen to it now is how rhythm and blues influenced it is.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager and fanatical about it, it always struck me as the most unique, original thing in the world. But listen to it these days, I can see where you guys were originally coming from in the early days.
A lot of the stuff throughout all our history has been, very simple stuff on blues progressions and things like that, sort of turned into something a little more spacey by the use of top instruments and the words and stuff. So, that's what we were. That's what we, I guess, still are, a sort of rhythm and blues-based psychedelic band, whatever you want to call it.
I guess the basic Dark Side question that everybody always wonders is what was it about this album that made for such a phenomenal chart run and such a super seller for you guys?
Well, I guess all the things we'd been doing before then had been pointing towards it, and that was the first time that all the other things that we'd been working on came together really good, and the words were brilliant as well, and there was something with appeal to nearly everyone in the world in at least one of the songs. So it was just very, very broad appeal, and also had a lovely cover and great, the whole thing came together really well.
Yeah.
And it was just at that point of our career anyway when we were sort of gradually moving up to becoming quite popular.
It was the timing and everything gelled.
Everything gelled perfectly in that one moment.
Now, Wish You Were Here, there are stories about how that was kind of a hard album to make, and you were under pressure to follow up Dark Side. Was it when you go back and listen to it today? Do you think about the making of it, or do you just hear the music? Or
no, I don't think about the making of it when I listen to it. I just listen to it, and I think it's great. In fact, I think it's probably about my favourite album. And there were lots of difficult times during it, but maybe they helped. Those difficult times sometimes can help. And I think what we achieved with it is a really good, balanced album, musically and lyrically. I really, really like it. It still sounds great to me.
What are the other guys' faves? Which one does Rick like? Which one does Nick like?
Well, you'd have to ask them. I don't honestly know. I think we're all of us very keen on Wish You Were Here, as far as I know.
Yeah, because Rick's playing is amazing on that record.
Yeah, he plays some lovely stuff, doesn't he?
How about Animals? That's kind of underappreciated in the Pink Floyd canon. Everybody always says it's the George Orwell album, blah, blah, blah. How do you think that? I mean, Dogs, to me, strikes me as one of your finest moments.
Well, I like the Animals album a lot. It was the moment of high punk over here in England where sort of everyone hated everything, and we were certainly, I'm sure that had an influence on us making a bit of a tougher, starker, more aggressive album.
Yeah, Pink Floyd's punk album.
Yes, if you like. I mean, that's as close as we ever got. And I think Sheep, for example, is a really exciting, crazy sort of track. I really like Sheep on that. And Dogs I like an awful lot. Did some interesting guitar things I haven't done before on that. And, I really like it. I really like that album. And I think the remastering of that has shown it up even brighter and better than it's ever been. It sounds definitely, that's one of the ones that's improved the most through the remastering on this new box set.
How about The Wall? You gave that interview to Musician a couple months back, and they've been having this ongoing thing in their letters column. The comments you made about the session musicians on there and stuff kind of started this little debate there about, is it a Pink Floyd album? Isn't it a Pink Floyd album? What the session musicians did to it, the way it was made, blah, blah, blah.
Well, there weren't that many session musicians, but there were a few session musicians. I mean, yeah, we've never been very purist about this. We've always had extra session musicians. On Dark Side of the Moon had Dick Parry playing saxophone and other things, and on tour, and whenever we needed anyone, we'd get someone in, And The Wall album, there were moments when either Nick wasn't around or something, when we had Jeff Porcaro in playing drums on Mother. We wanted proper military snare drum stuff for Bring the Boys Back Home, so we got his father Joe Porcaro in to do that. We had a guy called Freddie Mandel playing the Hammond organ because we wanted it really wild and sort of, really Hammond organ be wild for in the flesh thing. And I can't remember why Rick wasn't there for that, but it was a pretty bad period for Rick at that moment anyway. We had the classical guitar player play the Is There Anybody Out There classical guitar player, because I couldn't fingerpick it well enough at the time. We had Lee Rittener do a rhythm guitar part on I can't remember, on one of those things. And, it's just the odd part here and there which people came in and did.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no compunction about using that. If you have an idea in your head that you can't quite manage to play perfectly enough for a record, then getting someone else to play the part that you've invented in your head and turning it into part of a Pink Floyd record, why on earth not?
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to that. As you know, we had a few session musicians in on our last record as well.
Well,
I mean, apart from the session musicians coming in on the Wall album, there were, Roger didn't play all the bass. I played bass on lots of records. Roger and I both played keyboards on lots of records. I mean, isn't sacrosanct that Rick gets to play the keyboards, Roger gets to play and Roger played guitar on some of the Animals album. Roger played guitar on. And,
Well, I think the perception though is that, especially after a record like Animals, which is obviously kind of a group thing, because some songs are made by the drums, say, right?
Yeah.
The Wall is much more like cinematic in scope and less of a band project than just this giant multimedia thing. So that was my perception of it, because I got to see the Long Island shows back then, and I mean, it didn't really ever make sense to me until I saw the shows, and of course, the majority of people didn't, because you guys only did 4 cities or something.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the shows did make sense, and doing the shows, was great fun for about the first 30 performances, and then it kind of got dull because there was no places to stretch out and do and to just play music.
Yeah.
And so it was because of the films and because of the show that went with it. Everything had to be rather rigidly routined, and that has its upside and its downside. The upside is that you can create a great show like that. The downside is you don't get to jam as often. But you win something, you lose something. We never had any problem with that.
Yeah. Momentary Lapse of Reason was kind of a return to the other way of doing it. Before
Yeah.
After a couple of years' absence. How does that? I guess I'm surprised that's in the box, because I mean, you would assume that since it's only a couple of years old, that everything was already state of the art pretty much, and it is only just a couple of years back. What was the idea in including that one?
Well, it's part of the ongoing Pink Floyd. We want to convince people of that, that it's part of the ongoing one. We, if you like, want to use it to confirm that we're still going, and it's still part of what we do. If we didn't put it in, we'd stop the whole thing at the Wall. I guess we could have done that, but for our own reasons, we decided to go in for that one.
Yeah. Well, where to next? When does Pink Floyd get back together and start working on another project?
Well, myself and Rick and Nick are currently sort of spending some time each week in the studio together, trying to start thinking about putting something together. But we haven't really got a specific plan yet, or a specific program or calendar for it. So I can't really tell you an awful lot about it, but we are sort of working away at something kind of vaguely at the moment.
How do you guys work these days? Do people bring things from home studios on tape, or do you get together and jam still? Or
Every way. We get together and have a little jams. We bring in things. We work on individual demos. We throw everything into the pot. It's just the way it's always gone on.
Yeah. Is it still enjoyable for you after so many years? I mean, do you still get the same thrill of sitting down and playing with those guys?
Yeah, well, there's no point in doing it otherwise, is there?
No.
I mean, no, I still, that's why I carried Pink Floyd on after Roger didn't want us to, it's because I love it. I am a musician, and that's what I love to do. That's my chosen career. I've given my entire adult life to it, so, I still enjoy it.
Can you tell me a little bit about this thing that you did with Nick, this cross-country race?
Yeah. Well, that was just a bit of fun, driving around in old cars around Mexico. And we thought, for some people, I don't know if it got marketed quite right. I mean, I hoped it would just get marketed to the people who would be interested in that sort of thing, not as a major Pink Floyd project. But it's just a bit of fun to film this thing and see us having a bit of fun doing something different.
Yeah. So it must be great to be in a position after working hard for so many years to be able to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, most people would be pretty envious of you.
Yep. Well, I guess they would. I mean, it's just a bit of fun going off and driving. I don't know really if one should involve that in your career thing at all. Maybe one shouldn't. But anyway, there it is. It's out there.
What do you think? Since the box is coming out, it's a good time to ask this question. how do you think the Pink Floyd influences come out in the wash on other groups? I mean, I know you produced people like the Dream Academy, but there are so many bands that consider themselves psychedelic pop that list Pink Floyd among their influences. Do you keep in touch with it or with that kind of sound? Do you have any thoughts about it?
Not really. I'm very happy to be cited as an influence. I'm very glad if people say that what we do has helped them or influenced them in any way. It helps to make you feel that it's all worthwhile,
Yeah.
When other people have confirmed it by that sort of means. So,
do you get to hear many new groups?
I don't listen to many now. I mean, I've been listening to the Orb a little bit lately.
Yeah, there's some Pink Floyd in there for sure.
Yeah.
People like My Bloody Valentine, even which is a little noisier, but they kind of. I think one of the things that Pink Floyd did, and it shows in this box, is that you showed it kind of expanded the boundaries of rock and roll beyond 3 minutes and beyond even one album, one side.
Yeah. Well, those rules weren't made for us. Made by other people for other people. They can stick to them if they want. I didn't get into rock and roll to have someone else tell me what the rules were.
No. One last question: have you guys read the Nick Schaffner book? What do you think of that as a history of the group?
It's pretty accurate. There's some bits that aren't so accurate, but mostly it's fairly accurate. Yeah. I've read it. I seem to have lost my copy. I think I lent it to someone. I haven't got it back again, but yeah. No, I think it was a fairly accurate book. Poor old Nick Schaffner snuffed it, I hear.
Yeah. He died of AIDS, apparently.
Yeah.
But did you listen to Roger's new album?
Yep.
Any thoughts on that? What did you think about that one?
I think it's probably his best solo album so far. Yeah, I like some of the bits. Some of the words, reading some of the words, they're very good. There's some good stuff on there, but his voice, I can't really listen to his voice. Maybe it's prejudice for the bad times he's given us, but I don't really want to sit around and listen to his voice too much.
Do you think it's ever possible that somewhere down the line you guys would patch it up to get back together for one show or something?
I wouldn't put your wages on it if I were you.
No. Okay. Well, thanks, Dave. I think that's basically everything I have. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, good luck.
Okay, bye.